This is a special edition of K2 News on your side.
Does Portland have a perception problem? 5 years after COVID and the riots that rocked this community, what are people saying now? Some visitors to our city said this. Johnny from Minneapolis.
The food, the people, the beauty. You have woods, water, mountains. It's my favorite place to come.
Covey and Morgan from LA.
It feels like there's a lot of good-natured people and well-intentioned people in the city who are trying to make it work. So keep on rocking.
Logan from Memphis, Tennessee.
But I mean, I guess downtown can still use a little love, but everywhere else seems to be doing awesome.
Still, many who live here see a city with work ahead. Roger, who lives in the Pearl.
Lots of times you'll go for walks. There's still that issue with the open air drug markets. People are just freely using drugs on the street.
And Patricia from Portland.
Why aren't we supporting our small businesses more?
Perception versus reality. What challenges are city leaders overcoming? And what still needs to happen before everybody agrees Portland is safe, clean, and economically stable? Tonight's live town hall, City in Crisis, Portland's perception problem, starts right now. And good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this special K2 Town Hall. Does Portland have a perception problem? I'm Steve Dunn. Is Portland on track when it comes to dealing with some of its biggest challenges like homelessness and open drug use? Where is Portland succeeding? Where is it still struggling? And how is the perception of Portland impacting its recovery? Tonight, we're sitting down with the mayor, city and county leaders, police, and other Portlanders, taking a deep dive into the reality of life and business in the Rose City through the lens of homelessness, drug use, and personal safety. Ahead of this town hall, we went out and asked locals and visitors about their perception of Portland. Watch this.
I mean, I have definitely heard people talk about the drugs and the homeless and things like that, but we didn't experience any of that.
I'm not here to bash Portland. I love this city, but there's still work to do. But all in all, I think the city is absolutely heading in the right direction, and I think we've come a long ways.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your time. This is the all-star cast we have with us tonight. You just heard him. He feels as though Portland's headed in the right direction. Can I see a show of hands? How many feel that same way, that this city is headed in the right direction? Show of hands. How many feel it? Oh, we got one not feeling it over there. The rest of you do. Tell me why you feel it is headed in the right direction. Mayor, I want to begin with you.
I could really just, talk to Chief Dobson and Sergeant Smouts. I mean, our crime rate as far as homicides and such is dramatically falling. It has fallen faster and more significantly than any major city in the United States. So from a crime standpoint, we're seeing material change.
Who else has something to say about why they feel? Yes, down at the end. Olivia?
I want to point out that it's some of the people over there that actually are moving us forward. There are 3 constituents over there that, because of their persistence, their perseverance as small business people, as neighborhood leaders, they are bringing us forward.
Anybody else on this side want to tell me why you feel? Yes, let's bring it over here if we can, a microphone. Andrew Hone. Andrew, what are you thinking?
I think there's a little bit of a nuanced story. I think we were so challenged by all the things that you led off with that our standards really were low. And we have to acknowledge that we have made progress from how hard it was. That isn't something we should completely celebrate because we have a lot of work to do. But it is absolutely the case that we are improving year over year. So it does feel better to me. Ilana Pirtle-Getty, President, Portland City Council, your thoughts on this?
Portlanders are moving us in the right direction. Portlanders are showing up. Portlanders are coming out. Portlanders are supporting our local businesses, and we are seeing an increase in foot traffic downtown. We are seeing new starts for businesses, new starts for restaurants in neighborhoods across the city. That is turning around our city in a really significant way, and it is my fellow counselor said, thanks to her constituents who are here today, it is thanks to all Portlanders who are really putting in the work of investing in our city.
Of course, as you know, not everybody feels everything's rosy. Let's go back to Sergeant Schmaltz back here, who didn't raise his hand. Tell me why you didn't, sir.
You know, I think there's a lot of hope in Portland right now, and I'm very proud of the work that we're all doing together. I think the big thing for me is I spend a lot of my day talking to people who are still hurting, who are still frustrated, who are still suffering. I would love to raise my hand, and I'm looking forward to getting to that place. I think we need more agreement about how to move our city forward together, and when we get there, I think I'll be excited to raise my hand.
Are more people headed downtown these days? That's the big question, because, you know, that's been a problem for the last several years. Not enough folks down there doing shopping and visiting and so on. Andrew Hone, I want to bring you in here because downtown Portland Clean and Safe recently did a foot traffic survey and things were up quite a bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the good news is year on year, there's about a 6% increase in overall foot traffic. And then if you think about the scale of it, it's 21.5 million people came to the downtown core in what is the first 8 months of the year. So that's something to celebrate. But just like the perception issues, the employee foot traffic, and we have a way of differentiating that, has been flat for well over a year. So that's telling you that employers are no longer we're not growing our employment base in the central city. So we can celebrate the good progress, and that was built on public-private partnerships between the city, Travel Portland, business community, our county partners, and beyond. But then also recognize there is some heavy work to do to bring the employer community back to the central city so that we have a truly thriving downtown and really a thriving city again.
That's the question, I guess, is how do we get people to come back downtown? How do we do that? Can I go back to you, Mayor? What are you thinking on that?
You know, I always say safety drives investment. And we have to make sure that when you go downtown, it's predictable, that you're going to enjoy your time, you're going to bring your family, and you're going to enjoy the safety in that surrounding. And we have to also, you know, build back Portland. It has so much opportunity. We have to rethink downtown in more of a mixed use approach. We have so many buildings that are unoccupied, underutilized. And so we have to not try and rebuild downtown with last century's focus, but recognize it's a whole new world, and we're putting some significant investments in starting to change the direction of our downtown.
Megan Conway, I want to bring in Megan now, from Travel Portland, President and CEO. Reputation, we've talked about this at the beginning, and that's important for this city right now. How are we doing as far as bookings go for conventions and what have you? What are you seeing?
Sure, we're in a window, the mayor and I were just talking about this at the beginning of the session, where we're kind of reaping what happened in 2020, 21, 22, even when those meeting planners that book out multiple years into the future felt like Portland needed a little time before they were ready to book. And now we're just coming off of our best convention booking year that we've ever had. So over 300,000 room night bookings, and looking forward to the future, but we still have a little bit of a gap of those years that, you know, we'll be into 26, 27, even before we get to 28, 29, where those bookings are really solid into the future.
What are you hearing from out-of-towners when they talk about Portland?
Yeah, we do a quarterly out-of-market sentiment survey to look at what people's outside perceptions are of the city. We sometimes get a little too close to things here in town and you know, kind of dragging our feet a little bit about how we're feeling about things. And outside the market, one of the things that we always look at is, if you've been to Portland, what's your kind of tendency to come back? And we have 78% of people are saying they would love to come back based on their experience. So we know that once people get here, they're able to look around and see that it's not the city that maybe they thought it was from, you know, national news sentiment or different things like that. But they're also then spreading that word of mouth back to other people, and we see the value in that in addition to sort of our larger marketing efforts.
Lisa Schroeder, Mother's Bistro, love your food.
Thank you.
You absolutely know that. You need some more folks downtown. Tell us about that.
Well, I really do, because actually downtown is really cleaned up. It really is improved. But I and my business are very dependent on office workers. And like it's been mentioned by the mayor, I'm surrounded by 10 million empty square feet of offices. U.S. Bank left the U.S. Bank building. Wells Fargo left the Wells Fargo building. Standard Insurance left the Standard Insurance building. So just like Andrew mentioned, half of the employees are downtown. My business is half of what it was.
What would you like to see from these folks?
We need vision. I want a government and a council that, instead of hitting all the problems and the whack-a-mole situation that we've been dealing with over the last 5 years, I want people to have vision. We are surrounded by creative people and companies in this city. We need to bring them together in a room and figure out what are we going to do with these empty spaces. People are not coming back to their offices. They're done working they want to be at home and take care of their dog and kids and get their work done. So now, what's going to happen with these offices?
Julia Brim-Edwards from the county, you're hearing this. What can be done?
I love it. I think one of the things...
Wait for a microphone. There you go.
I love it. I think one of the things we need to do is play to our natural assets that we have. Where do we have a competitive advantage? We just had a $2 billion investment in the Knight Cancer Center. We're going to be the global center for cancer treatment and services. We also have we're going to be the global epicenter of women's sports. We have the footwear and apparel design cluster industry right here, the global capital right here in Portland. And I think we need to focus on those things that we can build off of. We also, I've got to say, in addition to downtown, have all these thriving business districts out across the city that also can be the platform for economic growth and a thriving economy.
We got lots more to talk about. The folks at home, I want to know what you think about this. To weigh in, use your phone's camera to scan the QR code on your screen. Tell us, what's your perception of Portland? Hey, it's an amazing city, has problems, but it's getting better. Too many issues with few solutions. It's not safe, I avoid it. So far, most of you saying at this point, 48% it's not safe, and I avoid it. Maybe we can convince you by the end of this program. Again, vote by scanning the QR code in your screen, or you can find this poll on our website, KATU.com. More to come from our town hall after this. Welcome back to our town hall this evening. Does Portland have a perception problem? So many folks, when you ask them about Portland, they mention public safety and the concerns. We just saw in our polling there, 48% are concerned about that. Here's what some people are saying. Watch this.
How we're taking care of the homeless, and I don't mean moving them to the side, I mean taking care of them. If they have mental health issues or substance abuse issues, how are we addressing that?
I mean, really just cleaning up the drugs on the streets. I mean, particularly on TriMet. I mean, half the time, I mean, it's unsafe, and they're like openly doing drugs on the max. I see it almost daily, and I take the max every day to and from work.
Those are the top two issues we hear from people all the time, is homelessness and open air drug use. Mayor, I want to bring you into this again because you have vowed to clean up the unsheltered homelessness by the end of this year. How's it going for you?
It's going well. Let's tackle two things that were just mentioned. First of all, transit safety. We've just reintroduced our police transit officers back to transit. We heard the public. We're going to start investing in that to really make sure when you ride transit downtown, again, you feel safe and you're ready to come and enjoy the city. The second part regarding homelessness, with the support from the City Council, we've got the funding. We are on target, we are on time, and we're on budget to deliver that December 1st to make sure that we have enough beds available to provide life-saving care for everybody who's ready to come inside. And so that's set for December 1st, and we're on target. We're seeing the uptake in those shelters steadily increase week over week. We've been opening day centers, and we see increased use week over week, and we see the neighborhoods and the revitalization around those shelters really improving. So the team is really doing well. We're gonna deliver on a very outsized goal.
I want to read some crime statistics for you now. This is from the FBI, by the way. Portland, number 2 in the nation for total crime rate. Number 2 also for highest property crimes, behind Memphis, Tennessee in both of those categories. I want to bring in Assistant Chief Dobson. Violent crimes are down in Portland, right? But we've got some other issues. Tell us about that.
There are. As you pointed out, violent crime is down. That's going really well for us. But there are issues that we're continuing to look at and study to figure out how do we deal with those. There's lots of different areas that we're addressing. The drug rates, or the drug issues, is one of those issues. TriMet, as the mayor has pointed out, we're reinvesting into TriMet to ensure that we can have riders ride safely. We're looking at how do we address those other issues as they come up.
And you know, because I have friends of mine I know that won't go downtown, particularly at night, because of what they sometimes see or what they hear has happened down there. Sergeant Schmautz, I want to bring you in on this. When we talk about the open air drug use, is that declining, or where are we when it comes to that?
So, I mean, you know, with the kind of changing of Measure 110 back to a situation where we have options for people and we can enforce a little better, I do think that you've seen, less, but the markets are still moving. You know, I hear from community members often that new areas will pop up. And the real difficulty, I think, is we still have not kind of solved the riddle of how to get people to the help that they need so that we're maximizing the touch points that law enforcement has. We're not the solution to the addiction crisis, but we interact with people who are suffering from addiction more than anyone else in the city. And so we need partnership, and we need to make sure that those touch points are maximized into some kind of outcome, and so the people who are calling see change in their neighborhoods.
Michelle Miller, I want to talk to you. You live in the northwest side of town, am I correct on that? You mentioned that 20 businesses have left in 20 months because of crime. Is that correct?
Yes, we have seen an exodus of businesses in that neighborhood, more than 20 in the last 18 months or so. And the common denominator there has been all about safety. It has been safety for workers. It has been safety for the patrons. It's been safety for visitors who don't have that when they come and visit that part of the neighborhood. And so safety as a bottom line is something that is needing to be addressed from all aspects so that we can go forward and become more of a vibrant city.
I want to go back to the mayor, if I possibly can. Bring the microphone. That's got to really bother you as the leader of this city to hear that so many businesses have left in such a short time because they don't feel safe.
That's right. No, it's a concern, and it's a concern that we're taking very seriously. So Fred Meyer's just recently pulled out of their, the Gateway location.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when I got the call from the president that he had a conversation, because I had been talking to him every couple months since I took office, because I could see the problems at the Stadium Hood, Fred Meyers, and see the problems in East Portland. And I got that call, and frankly, I thought that they were going to be closing Stadium Hood. Because when they are losing really hundreds of thousands of dollars because of safety and security issues, and they have to keep their staff safe as well, we have to own that. We have to act fast. We didn't lose the Stadium Hood, but I'm very aware of what you're dealing with, and we are really trying to add resources to the city as fast as we possibly can. We know we have a humanitarian crisis. We're treating the crisis like a crisis. We're addressing that, and then we'll really start focusing on the public safety element of really just helping neighbors succeed in their neighborhoods. I want to help more, but I really have to address all four corners of the city in a fair, equitable sense, but we are making huge progress. I'm indebted to Sergeant Smouts and Chief Dobson. Chief Dobson was in the field with me with Chief Day on Monday. We spent all morning doing a site survey on how can we improve and increase our coverage to improve outcomes for all the neighborhoods. And they've been out with me over the last several months, and we're getting out into the neighborhoods to say, how can we do this? How can we do it faster, better, easier, at lower cost to really provide safety and care to our community?
I'm going to Bruce Stewart, I'm going to get to you, I promise you that. Bruce, from the president of the Pearl District Neighborhood Association. Your neighbors feel safe out there?
Well, some of them do and some of them don't. It's a mixed bag. I've got to say that because we've been in the news lately because we're the latest neighborhood to get a shelter, that it's been a lot of concern for everybody. The fear of the livability aspect of a shelter, and the fact that other shelters have not performed very well. This one it's been open since September 2nd. It's got a spotty record. We're working with the city to improve that. It's up and down as far as attendance. But the Pearl is coming back. We've had 25 new businesses open in the last year. We've got the REI space has just been leased to a high-end auto dealership. So the building next door that was built that was empty is now going to have 150 different engineers from a company in there. So we've got some progress and vitality in the neighborhood, but we're going to count on the city to honor its commitments to us and to make sure that the shelter doesn't degrade our quality of life. And we're going to hold the mayor accountable for it. He knows that. And he's been receptive to that. But I got to tell you, people in the neighborhood are skeptical, and they are as fearful as I've seen them since the 3 years I've been there.
They're going to hold you accountable, they say. You prepared for that?
Absolutely. And I appreciated all the feedback. I mean, that neighborhood, like most neighborhoods in Portland, there are 95 neighborhoods, and I would say if I were to go to any one of them, they would say they were concerned and alarmed at the direction Portland was going. It was understood. When I looked at the area that we put the new Northrop facility, there were 600 people living houseless in that neighborhood. We did 1,100 camp cleanups last year. That's just a waste of money. Care for the citizens, bring them inside. Every time we do a camp sweep, it's wasted time and money from investing in small businesses to succeed in Portland. I'm very grateful for Bruce and your community for giving it a try. I assure you, every day I have reports on what's going on. We're street sweeping because you're investing in us. We have teams go out with outreach, graffiti abatement, street sweeping. We have enforcement that's at a higher level for open drug use, dealing, camp abatement. That neighborhood, I want to see business increase. I want to see crime decrease, but I want that in all 95 neighborhoods. And I'm grateful that you have taken, I'm glad that you're investing in us in this partnership.
Still some folks we haven't gotten to. I promise we'll do that when we come back. We'll take another break. Our town hall continues after this. Look at the numbers here. Your perception of Portland, 48% still, not safe, and I avoid it, 23%. It has problems, but it's getting better. Stay with us. If you're just joining us tonight, K2 is hosting a special edition town hall. Portland's perception problem. Is the city on track when it comes to dealing with some of its biggest challenges? From drug use to homelessness to public safety, K2 is on your side asking what's being done, what needs to be done, and how the perception of Portland is impacting its recovery. We're joined by the mayor, city councilors, police, other Portlanders discussing what's really happening in the Rose City. That discussion picks up right after this very short break. Welcome back to our town hall tonight. Such a great discussion so far. Here's the question. Is Portland a friendly place for businesses? Watch this.
What on earth were you thinking when you raised the parking rates recently? We just went downtown for an evening. It cost us $11 plus for 3 hours downtown. Ridiculous. What are you thinking? You want to get people downtown, not send them away.
That is not the first time I've heard it. I'm sure probably for you folks as well. What was the reason for raising the parking rates the way you did? Who wants to answer that in here? We got the mayor for just a few more minutes before he has to take off, so I'm put you on the spot here.
We saw the increase in downtown foot traffic and also automobile traffic. We had a $100 million deficit. We have basic services to fund, police, fire, you name it. And then we did a comparison with other cities, and we found out that our rates were actually lower than other cities. It seemed as an opportunity. We certainly recognize that there are some challenges we've created, and I'm happy to say that we're looking at making some modifications to that as well right now.
Olivia, let's get the microphone over to Olivia on the other end. There we go.
Well, I appreciate.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, sure.
So you see this gentleman's frustration. He says, hey, we're trying to get people back downtown, not push them away, and then the rates go up, and then people get all frustrated again. What do you say to this guy?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. And I think the mayor just stated that we will be revisiting the parking rates. We had that conversation today. I think we'll be revisiting the parking rates next week.
Is this breaking news we're putting on K2 right now?
Possibly, yes, yes. But I share the pain. I know when I was paying $10, $11 for parking, I was like, whoa, it was shocking. So I think we will have this discussion next week.
Okay, I want to get a microphone over to the far end over here. Vanessa Sturgeon from TMT Development. She develops and manages high-rise offices, retail, and apartments. Unfriendly business climate. Is that what you're thinking here?
Unfortunately, that is certainly the perception, and probably in most cases kind of a reality for Portland businesses. What we hear when we're looking for tenants to renew leases or come into downtown Portland is that it's so easy for them to get outside of Multnomah County and have a much, much lower tax burden. And I would say that that issue, far and away beyond public safety, is what is impeding the office market from coming back in Portland, is our tax structure.
So what would you like to see these folks do then?
I would really like to revisit taxes like preschool for all, supportive housing services, and the Portland Clean Energy Fund, and see how we can, if not lower those taxes, look at a way to deploy those funds more effectively so people at least feel like they're getting the bang for their buck.
I'm going to get to you folks in a minute to respond to that tax question, but I've got Andrew sitting right there, so I want to ask him. You've complained about the really highly regulated business climate here, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. And I think one thing, not to add to the perception point, but to underpin it with data, we're in 9 straight quarters of job losses in our community. It's most particularly located here in Multnomah County. We are 80 out of 81 communities in the country in terms of real estate investment attractiveness. And our consumer confidence, which is tracked sort of like a leading indicator for how people feel about the economy, we're last in the nation. And so these are not things that are good. And the reality of what it does, we see happen literally today or yesterday when they announced another major deficit on the city budget. As business activity declines, so do public coffers also shrink. We are in a juncture, and I want to get back to something Lisa said earlier today. We've got to have vision to execute on these plans like what the mayor's talking about, what the city council and the county are engaged in. We have to take care of the basics, and while we're doing that, we have to acknowledge we're in an economic crisis as well. And if we don't have an economy and we don't have jobs, we will not have the resources to be able to do these things, and we'll be compelled to do things like raise parking rates, which infuriate people and lead to that ongoing negative perception that we have in our community. So it's time to also acknowledge that the economy matters, and it's in everyone's interest to have a thriving business ecosystem. And I would just point to what we're saying from Vanessa here. The taxes here are absurd. It's debilitating our economic growth. And while they may feel good and they're things that we may care about, we're going to have a hard conversation about the reality of the future of this community if we can't get these taxes reformed in a meaningful way and not wait and admire the problem, but do it as soon as possible.
One of the highest tax rates in the country. What do we do about it? Is there anything we can do? Because you guys have been around long enough to have heard this complaint so many times from people, but is there anything, I know you're leaving soon, so I'm going to put you up into the microphone again to answer to that. What do you say to these folks who say, man, the taxes are too crazy around here?
Yeah, well, specifically what Vanessa pointed out, the supportive housing services measure. was being negotiated just a few months ago, but that deal fell through, and that was going to show a moderate decrease in the tax. Commissioner Brim Edwards is currently looking at preschool for all and wondering how we can address the duplicity of that, because we have the Oregon All-In state program, we have the preschool for all. How can those two be combined to deliver the same sort of resource without such the high rate of tax? I don't control that one, but there's opportunity. Business license taxes. If we want to talk about businesses, then perhaps we want to raise the threshold and really accentuate the need to bring small businesses back into our community. We have levers, and I know council and I are going to be looking at that, but there's opportunity. We need to take a good hard look at those taxes, and we actually have to action a change.
What can we do from the county standpoint to lower some of these taxes for these folks?
I think it's important to remember some of these taxes are ones that were voter approved. And I believe that our community felt that the things they were voting for were things that were important to families and individuals in our community. And I also think our community knows that we have to have a thriving local economy. And we have to have a thriving local economy for two reasons. One, if you have a thriving economy, that means we have thriving residents and businesses. And also, and I'm trying to impress this also on my fellow county commissioners, is if we don't have a thriving economy, we don't have the resources as a county to provide essential public services. So having a thriving economy and addressing the tax burden, and I think we over the years have just had pancaking, and so, you know, how do we strategically and utilize the resources that our community has very generously voted for and supported, and in a way in which we're really targeting at our biggest challenges.
Got about a minute left before I take another break. Alicia Schroeder, how tough is it to have a restaurant in this community?
It's really tough just to, I'm losing money every day, basically. And I told my landlord I'm willing to be a nonprofit, but I can't keep taking out of my retirement to stay open. And that's really where we are. I lost money. I've been losing money every single year I've been open. And the only reason why I'm still here is because we got government help. It's not tenable. It's just not tenable.
You have to leave. I know that. I want to say, let's give him a round of applause for coming tonight. The mayor, I know you got to leave in the break. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your time, Sarah. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more Town Hall after this. Welcome back to our town hall, everybody. You know, we have a program called Your Voice, Your Vote that runs every Sunday, a political show. Some of you have been on there before. Never fails, someone will come on and they'll complain about the lack of partnership between the city and the county. They say that absolutely has to change. So that's the big question now. Is it changing? Can we put a microphone right over here if we possibly can to you, Julia Bram-Edwards? What do you think? Things getting better or no?
I think that's old news. I think our constituents are really tired of the city and county pointing at each other, having news conference, casting blame on the other side. I'll say when I got on the commission 2 years ago, it was a very dysfunctional relationship between the city and the old city council and the county commission. And I think that's fundamentally changed for the better. I think on my first day of my county commission service, I went to the city council and pledged that I was going to work with the city on our joint problems because we're all Portlanders. We want this town to be successful, and our constituents know they're going to hold us accountable, and they know that in order for us to be successful, we've got to work together. And I think we've done that. Public safety is a perfect example. The county has the sheriff with the jails, the district attorney, we have the Department of Community Justice, the city has the police bureau, they have Portland Street Response. If they're working in silos or politicians are blaming each other, things aren't going to work. And so our community, I think, is demanding that we work together. And I've been delighted. I love that we've got a new city council, that there's 3 to 6 people every day who get up and are thinking like I am about the Lentz neighborhood, about Hazelwood, about Powellhurst, Gilbert, parts of the city that haven't gotten attention. So I love the representation, and I think the relationships between the city and the county are at a very strong point, and that our community is benefiting from that, and we're making progress because we are like wrestling and with the issues, and when we disagree, we're trying to find places where we can find common ground. So I think things are much better from my perception.
Lana Pirtle-Getty, what do you think? Let's bring it over here. Is everybody getting along now? Council President, what do you think?
The commissioner said it right. This is old news. We have different programs that we run. That means that we sometimes have different perspectives on the challenges facing the city and the county respectively, but we are sitting down together to work through those challenges. We are sitting down together to work through those differences and find solutions that are best for Portlanders, that are best for the residents of Multnomah County. You see that through the joint meetings that we hold around our homeless service system. You see that through the partnership as we both talk about having better treatment for folks who are struggling with addiction. The city was just recently talking about the need to increase investments in our community in behavioral and mental health services, something that is on the county's agenda. We will need to work together on that. And you see that in the partnership, joint town hall meetings between city councilors and county commissioners, regular meetings on the books between folks. We are working together to find the solutions that our community needs.
Let's pass that microphone right back here to the sergeant, if we can. Do you agree? Things looking rosy for city-county relationship?
I agree that the two people who just spoke are doing an excellent job. I think that both Julia and the council president, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be a first-name person, are both doing a very good job of representing not just their own constituency, but the city and the county. The challenge is that we too often fall into this trap politically where we're having these large conversations of whataboutism. We recently saw there was issues at the library, and instead of talking about the fact that there was violence and somebody was stabbed or shot or whatever else, we're fighting about whose fault it is. We've got to look at solutions, and this is my personal frustration. I mean, you look at policing. Project Respond is a wonderful program. PSR is a wonderful program. We got to merge all these different works that we're doing and ensure that the right responder is connected to the first responder and that we're getting help where it needs. And we spend way too much time arguing over, who's spending what money or whatever else. So again, I think both of these, and Olivia too, I mean, they are all doing a wonderful job, but there are political voices in our ecosystem right now that spend way too much time arguing about whose fault things are.
Olivia, you understand his frustration. Go ahead and pass that microphone right up to her if you could.
No, I absolutely do. I think Sergeant Schmautz is right. I think we have two of the best right here, maximizing cooperation, but I think we have a long way to go. I would say that. Whether it's mental health issues, getting maybe an annex of the state hospital up in our area. We have a long way to go to solve problems, but it is getting better. We have great models from the past of the city and county working hand in glove. And I think we're moving in that direction. I'll be optimistic, but I think Sergeant Schmautz is also right.
You mentioned mental health. Hang on to that microphone for a second, because you talked earlier, you wanted to talk about that, because that's one of the big things we hear from people right now. It's just, they see a lot of that on the streets, some folks who really need that help. How do we get them that?
Well, you're absolutely right. A large portion of the homeless population have mental problems. If you talk to Dr. Andy Mendenhall at Central City Concerned, he will tell you that the acuity level of the people on the street is very, very high, and that there are people that will never be able to take care of themselves, and that we need to have an alternative for them. We don't have the beds available or the facilities available. They end up in the hospital emergency room and just cycle through, but we need to work very closely with the county on what is the solution to this problem. We need places for people to go, and I've been advocating for an annex of the state hospital up here in the Portland area to be part of that solution.
I would imagine, if we pass that back to the assistant chief back here, that's got to be a frustration for you folks too out there with so much mental illness on the streets, and you have your officers confronting that on a daily basis.
It is a challenge, not only the mental health, but the addiction issues as well, and finding spaces to be able to put those folks. I think we are starting to move in the right direction, where we're starting to open up services and find services available for them. But that is a challenge, so that we aren't cycling, as it was pointed out, through that rotational door of sending folks to somewhere and then having them right back out on the street. But that is one of the issues that we face and are working through.
I would imagine you see a lot of that as well over in the Pearl. As president of the neighborhood association out there, I'm sure you see a lot of mental illness as well, and wondering what's being done about it.
Yeah, we see a lot. I mean, the homeless population in the Pearl that we see are exactly like Olivia said. They're either addiction related or mental health related. It's probably 95%. And whether one comes first or one comes second doesn't really matter. And that's one of the reasons everybody was upset about the shelter, because the shelter really just put a bed out there. It didn't do anything about the underlying problem. And we can't just keep throwing money and money and money and time and effort and talent on things that don't go to the core problem. And it's just like putting a Band-Aid on something that needs a tourniquet. It just does not work. So the frustration that we have is there are crimes, and then people get arrested. We've had break-ins. They get arrested. They get taken to the police station, and they're out in a matter of hours. There's a joke going around that, you know, if you get assaulted on the side of the street, they'll be out in like 2 or 3 hours. And if you got a parking ticket, your car towed, you take more time to get your car back. So it's frustrating. And Olivia's right. We need a place to put people that cannot take care of themselves, because most of these people cannot, that we're seeing.
Another break. More to talk about. We've got about 10 minutes left in this particular program. Back with that after this. Welcome back. We're going to have some final thoughts from some of our guests tonight, 30 seconds each. And Andrew, we begin with you.
Sure. I think for a long time, we've admired problems and we've not taken action. But sometimes it takes hitting really rock bottom to make urgency a priority. And we have the collaboration and the focus to do it. And if people are wondering about what to be optimistic about, let's just think about a couple numbers. So over the summer, we had a sale of the Blazers for $4 billion. That's private sector investment in our community. Phil and Penny Knight, $2 billion in OHSU. And today, NVIDIA took a stake in Intel of $5 billion. So if you're wondering whether Portland has a future, it adds up to $11 billion in just under a month. That's something to be optimistic about.
Julia Brim-Edwards, 30 seconds.
Yeah, as a native Portlander, I'd just say to my fellow Portlanders, don't give up. Continue to believe in Portland. We have so many natural assets. This is a great community to start a business, to raise a family, to just live here. And I would say that we have so much going for us that we do have challenges. We're making progress, and we're going to climb out of this with the community behind us.
Sergeant Smouch, you have 30 seconds.
Sure. I think, obviously the number one thing for me when we're talking about public safety is we need to make sure that we're fully staffed and we're providing for enough resources to police, to provide all these things. But the biggest thing for me is we need a massive truth-telling kind of organism to grow in Portland. When you hear people saying that they're struggling or they don't feel safe on TriMet, we need to make sure we're not telling them that what they're seeing isn't real. We need to make sure that the programs, that all of the ideas we're coming up with are about doing politics for the we, for everyone, not just for me, not for like my small little group, but for everyone. When I hear about people complaining about P-POP in their neighborhood and they're concerned about safety, don't follow those people home and threaten them. Instead, let's hear about those problems and solve the problems.
We're going to come to you in a second, I promise. Stay here. We're going to go to KATU.com now. You see that discussion on ARC PDX at 10 o'clock on KUNP. Thank you for watching, folks. We'll see you soon. For all of you watching on KATU.com, welcome. We're talking about Portland's perception versus reality. We've talked about public safety, business friendliness, city and county working together. Now, what's the future of Portland look like in all different ways? Ilana Perl-Gandy, what do you think? What do you see?
Portland has been facing a lot of headwinds, but most of those headwinds are not unique to our city. And we have a real opportunity right now to double down on Portland's future and on Portland's economy. We have to get serious, though. We have to get serious about supporting our major employers. Those are the employers that drive jobs in our community, that drive the opportunities for Portlanders. And we have to get serious about supporting our anchor small businesses, those businesses that we all know about, that we all hear about. We have Lisa Schroeder here from Mothers. There are many of these businesses across our city that we need to retain. And also look at what is up and coming. Who are those next generation of anchor businesses? We have so many BIPOC entrepreneurs who are investing in downtown. And if we bring all of these groups together, we can have a conversation about what Portland's future looks like, how we make the investments that are necessary, how we make sure that we are in this together so that we have a strong economy into the future. That's what will drive the changes that we need to see in all of the challenges that we've been talking about tonight.
So, let me get that microphone. I hand it right back to Megan. What do you see the future of Portland?
Thank you. You know, as I look at the future and thinking about the tourism sector in particular, you know, visitors come to our city and they spend about $5.5 billion a year. That number should be growing annually. And the policy decisions that we're talking about make this a place that people want to come visit. Leaning into our culinary story and really being a place that can stand up against some of the best culinary regions in the world, and leaning into that being the epicenter of women's sports, being the sportswear capital of the world, and these different things that anchor people around our differentiators and the things that make Portland stand out. We know these decisions from a policy standpoint make this a great place to live, but then that also makes it a great place to visit. People want to come and see people having pride in their city. Those numbers that we're talking about from the survey, wanting to see that people actually want to live here. They want to invite family and friends to come here and visit. And us leaning into all of these things and being supportive from our industry segment really gives us an opportunity for that $5.5 billion to be an increase. You know, we talk about the tax issues and all those things that are the burden on local Portlanders. This is additive. This is money from outside our market. It's coming in, it's being spent, it's supporting our small businesses, it's selling our creative arts and maker products and things like that. So I think that the future is very bright. There's large opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to promote and market the city as it is.
Major League Baseball would be good too. Let's get that.
Oh, we'll
here.
take it. We'll take it.
Let's throw that on the list, right? Vanessa, I want to go back to you. What do you see when you look at Portland down the road? You're in the development business. What do you see?
Well, I see a lot of people, a lot of Portlanders getting more educated than they ever have been about how the city works and what it is that the county does and what it is that the city does. And they're engaging, they're raising their voices, and they're saying, we want to see behavioral health and mental health prioritized over housing people. Those are our values. We want to see small businesses thrive. And in order for small businesses to thrive, big business has to thrive too, because the customers at small businesses are driven by big businesses. And so, you know, we're starting to coalesce and see more support for the Portland Police Bureau, for folks understanding the value and the role of public safety. And we have to be willing to look at some of the mistakes we've made, Measure 110 being, you know, a great example of that, and saying, you know what, we're going to pivot and we're going to think big about the future of this city, and we're going to do it as a community, and we're going to do it together.
In fact, I want to go back over to the assistant chief over here. As you look at the future of Portland, you look at the crime rate. I listed those numbers from the FBI, those stats. A little concerning, no question about it. Do you feel we will be turning the corner at some point down the road? Do you see it from your position?
Yeah, I think we've already started to turn that. We've still got a long ways to go, but we've already turned that. You know, if we look at where we were at in 2020, 2021 to where we are today, it's a change. We have pivoted. The discussion about the engagement of the community, I personally watched that engagement where the public is now plugged in and they've found their voice, and we're being able to hear that voice of what they need and what they want. The city has pivoted from an old style of government that didn't work, that was in silos, to a new form of government where the communication and the cooperation amongst the different bureaus is at a level that is higher than I've ever seen in the 27 years that I've been here. And so we have been able to make steps forward. There's still steps to be made, but we're moving in the right direction. And this Portlanders are resilient, and we can move forward.
Lisa Schroeder.
Well,
I might get to you
yes.
after Lisa too.
I agree that we really need to focus on the source of the problem and address it. So I want to see a Cheers type van picking up intoxicated people off the street. I want to see that detox center opening up in Southeast that's supposed to happen. These are urgent needs for our community to make it safer for everyone. We need to address mental illness. We need to have a place for people who can't take care of themselves to go. That's not just a homeless center and a place that's a bed. They need more than just a bed. So I'm willing to pay whatever taxes are necessary to help take care of my fellow man, but we have to get to the root of the problem, not just keep putting Band-Aids on
Are you
things.
confident that those things will happen?
I know we're going to have a detox center. Now we have to push the county to get a van. We need to get people to that. It doesn't have to be the policeman's job. Either Portland Street Response or some entity has to bring those that need a detox center to the detox center.
Let's see if Julie has a van for you. Go ahead.
I do have a van for you. We have a plan, and the plan was built with city and county leaders. In 2019, when the Sobering Center Hooper closed, that was a huge community resource that got lost. When I talked to first responders, they said, you know, if we run into somebody who's intoxicated in the street, we have three choices. Take them to jail, take them to the ER, or leave them on the street, because we don't have a place to take them. And I was able to lead the effort to develop a plan. We got $25 million from the legislature. We are actively building it. And not only will it be a sobering center, but it also, the other side of the building will be withdrawal management services and detox, so that people can come in if they're dropped off by the Cheers van. That is part of the contemplation. We don't need to have law enforcement spending time necessarily dropping people off. We can have our other solutions. But somebody could come in, sober up, and decide, I'm ready to go into detox and get on my path to treatment and recovery. And they can just go to the other side of the building and get that service. So it's actively being built, and we really appreciate all the community's support, the active involvement from city bureaus, the mental health community, because we know it's needed, and it can't get here fast enough. We do have 13 sobering beds set up right now, but we know we need more.
And I think that's the key for a lot of folks. A lot of businesses just say, I want to see something actually progressing, being done. Let's pass it right over in a corner if we can. What do you see for the future here? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? What are you thinking?
I am here to say that I'm confident that we can see a lot more engagement with our communities and relationships that are being built between and amongst all the neighborhood associations. As this new form of government is kind of filling out their britches and figuring out how they can work together, we are paying attention, and it does matter. And I think the city is one that's worth saving. We are taxed to the hilt, but it's worth paying for if we're getting a bottom line of services that we can agree on. And I also think that when government is functioning to a level that things are going well, it's kind of boring and invisible. And I'd like to be talking amongst you about accomplishments and sort of figuring out a way to not be so hard on you all, because we're also here to help, and a vibrant Portland is what we want, just like you do too.
Bruce Studer, as you look into that crystal ball of yours, what still concerns you going forward?
I agree with Vanessa. I think that the tax burden and the inability to effectively and efficiently use the taxes that we have are some of the things that really upset a lot of people. I mean, we've got how many hundreds of millions of dollars at the city in the Clean Energy Fund. We've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the preschool for all. We've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the homeless accounts, and we have a disaster on the streets. It just, I mean, this all sounds good, and I believe it. It's happening, it's improving, but I got to tell you, I came from Michigan. Detroit went from one of the top places in the world in 1964, where it was second in line to Mexico City for the Olympics, to 1967, having the race riots, and it took 65 years to come back. We don't have 65 years. We have to address the problems now, and if we think we're going fast enough, we're not. We have got to go faster. And there are simple problems like the parking and there are bigger problems, you know, like mental health and those types of things. But we have to attack them now, and we've got to go fast.
Andrew Hone, I want to get this microphone right over to you. Are we moving fast enough to make this stuff happen?
No, of course not. I mean, let's acknowledge it. Let's face that fact, and let's be realistic that we don't have enough urgency, and frankly, we don't have enough alignment. So while there is good collaboration, I think what we're seeing is a slow seeping of reality into people's minds. And the other part of this that I don't think we're talking about, Portland and Multnomah County have tried to solve all of our problems on our own for far too long. And we have paid more to the state's overall taxes than we have received back. And we need to have that partnership to be successful. And we have to stop boiling oceans here constantly, because I think we're going to have to be facing prioritization questions in the future as we see declining public revenue. We're going to have to get very serious about what are the priorities, and then asking for help from our state partners, because far too long we've asked city and county leaders to solve all these issues, and it's not working.
Olivia, hold on. You got a mic right there for you.
I just want to riff off of what Andrew said, is really getting back to basics, and that's a message I talk about all the time. And I want to address all those people that called in tonight, the 49% that are
I think it's up
less
to 52 now.
Oh, it's up to, oh my goodness, it's up to 52. Well, I just want to say to those people that as just a regular citizen coming down to the 5,000-foot level, I want a future where I feel safe, like I used to walking anywhere in Portland at night. I felt safe. I don't feel that way anymore. I want to get back to that place.
Do you see that happening? Are you optimistic
Yes,
you see that happening in our lifetime?
Slowly. But we, and I've talked to Sergeant Schmeltz about this, we need more police officers on the street, on bicycles, in our neighborhoods. We need to bring back neighborhood crime prevention and neighborhood watch. I'm going to be talking to the police department about that. But it's slow, but we need more police officers on the street.
Who was the one guy who didn't raise his hand at the beginning? Sergeant Schmaltz. We're going to end with you. Give him that microphone back there. We've heard several people say we need more police officers out there in the streets. Is it going to happen?
Well, we need to get to full hiring. I believe next week, next Thursday, we're having the largest hiring class we've had since the late 90s. We are hiring more police officers, and people are applying. We need to define what it means to feel safe, and it means different things for many people. Public safety does not mean that crime never happens, but it does mean that when it does happen, a police officer shows up, you know who that police officer is, your issue is resolved, and then you feel safer as a result of that. We have a capacity issue, we have a relationship issue, we can build it. We have to ensure that we're funding public safety, that we're not arguing about things that are kind of on the fringes of the conversation, that we're building other models as well at the same time. We're staffing up our non-sworn people and other employees who support and all the supportive care. It is a full ecosystem. We can get there, but it's going to take a consistent trajectory, not just moments in time.
Thank you all for coming tonight. You could have been doing so many other things, and you thought it was important enough to talk to this community about the changes and what needs to be addressed. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it very much. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. See you later, and good night.